up on the top of Lebanon, and I can't remember the name of the town. A small village up on the top of Lebanon. And when he came down into Tripoli, he came down riding on a donkey. And he was very dark. And they said, look, here comes the Asmar, meaning the dark person. And his name wasn't Asmar. His name was Simons. And in America, two brothers, one brother called himself Asmar, and his other brother called himself Simons. And I could never work out why they had the two different names.
Henry and his brother.
Yes, they're both brothers.
Is that something?
So does Asma mean dark person?
Yeah.
Well, correct.
Some of us better get a tan out than this.
Solomon. That's what he said to me.
That's what happened, and that's why
Speaking for
George used to be called George Simons, and his brother was called Henry Asmar. And I could never work out.
So we're not sure whether the real name is Simon
Don't
or...
change it now, though.
No, so there you go. There's a bit of history that, look, I just thought you all should know this sort of history because it's been blowing my mind the last couple of days. I go and sit with Bill and Bill starts telling me these stories and I go, that's just incredible. 19, 20, 24, they came out here. You know, depression, end of war, 3 kids, pregnant, jump on a boat.
You know, there's a photograph of our great-grandfather and Khalil Gibran together in the Natural History Museum in Beirut.
Yeah, really.
Well, Bill's got photographs here of his our great-great-grandfather, their grandparents, and a lot of information in this.
Well, they left America, they're supposed to have left America, left Beirut together, and Khalil Gibran stayed in New York, and we travelled on.
Maury, how did Mum and Father get his dress made?
Don't you want this one? Want some dinner?
He was a tailor
Kitchen and see the dinner.
In Lebanon.
He was a tailor. He was a tailor even in Lebanon. He was a tailor. And when he came over here, all I can remember was that I can remember from 45, around 45 on, and that was the period of the war, and there were a lot of Americans in town, and I can remember the girls, Mum, Nell, Rose, they were making all these dresses, and Mum used to tell me later, oh, our best trade was the prostitutes because of all the Americans in town. They used to come and get their all latest dresses made, and that's where it carried on from that time.
We met somebody a relative of my husband came to Australia in the war as an American sailor. Stanley and David and I were in Los Angeles about 15 years ago. He was at one of the get-togethers that Jiddy put on, and he said, I remember the family. He remembered everybody.
Well, if you look at the photos, they're three beautiful, five beautiful girls.
Yeah,
in the
he
family.
remembered that.
And, where would the Americans go? You know,
He was Lebanese, and he was stationed down the road, and he heard about the family.
But didn't Shifty used to go down to the, when the American boys came in, the American boys that didn't want to go to those women of Ilverpute, they wanted a home-cooked meal, he used to go and get them and bring them home because Shifty was an American, and he would go and collect these boys, and they would come home and have a home-cooked meal, and then they got one look at the Asmar girls, and they never left. Years.
well, actually, you see photos of the parties at the Asmars, and there's like 100.
Yeah.
The house always had Americans.
They used to go to Mass on Sunday to the cathedral, 10 o'clock Mass. There were all these American boys on the trams coming home, and Mum and Dad used to talk to them, of course, where are you going? Oh, so-and-so, oh, we'll come home and have dinner. They had nowhere to go. And invariably, some of them were Lebanese boys. And we'd see them on their shore leave, we'd see them, they'd come in the door, oh yeah, you want a bed? Here's a bed. And we'd look like this. What? More. More work.
Anyone else want to say? Anyone else has got any history?
There's a Jiddy story I really like, Mum would tell this, that the 3 girls, and they're the eldest, and they bring home a prospective boyfriend, and Jiddi would look at them and he'd say in Arabic to them, "And who's been to the rubbish bin?" Khalas, that was it. The boy was out the door.
It's a hard taskmaster.
He also used to threaten to belt you with a lump of cotton, a piece of cotton. And the doctor used to say, "Haven't you given those kids a hiding yet?"
We never ever got a hiding from our father.
You did from Mum though.
Yeah, we did from Mum, but he'd always get the cotton reel out and he'd say, "Come here." Of course you'd go there, you know, we're going to cop anything. If Mum said to you, "Come here," you'd think twice about it.
Something about the Asmar women.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody who wants to look at the books, there's photographs of all those people, great-great-grandparents going back.
Can you tell us a bit about when Auntie May wanted to be a nun? What happened?
Auntie May wanted to be a nun when she was 15.
Yeah.
And my mother was sick at the time, and she said, "We have no objection to you entering the convent, but we think 15 is a bit young. You wait until you're 21, and then you will know what you really want to do." The day she turned 21, she had already had in her papers and everything to join the Franciscan Missionaries of Mary. And it wasn't too long after that she entered the convent, and she has been in the convent in India for the last 60 years. Now we'd bring her home. The only reason she would come home is we had to promise, practically sign our life away, that if anything happened to her over here, that we would send her back to India, because India was her home. And the children in the homes were her children. We couldn't say no to that.
In fact, that was the last time she was here. I said to her, "I think you need to tell some of us where you want to be in the end." And she said, "Oh, it's quite obvious. When I die, I want to be buried in India." So India was her home.
We thought that when they gave them, first of all, they couldn't come home. They joined the missionary order, they stayed. But then they released it, that they could visit home. That was all the nuns could visit home for holidays. Before she came, she said, "If I come home, you send me back." "Oh yes, yes, yes." But she said, "If anything should happen to me in Australia, you promise me now that you will send me back to India, because this is my home." What could you do? We promised, and that's what we have to do. But I don't think she'll ever come back. Simon knows, he was just over there.
No, she's very